going through the center of the vortex and how that links to what one would call intention, and how intention can transmute and direct these fields and rays.
Sorry about that. What vortex are we talking about?
Well, I guess that in some schools of thought, there's everything's the energies or the plasmas have a vortex or a squeezing point, you could say, or sometimes people might say the 0 point would be at that center.
Yeah, but you can get an exit of the field, so you call that the vortex.
Mm-hmm.
Something has to happen. If it's not the matter, it's energy. You're squeezing matter together when you create a vortex. You're creating a circular motion which leads to absorption and release of energy in compacting. If you do it in a bath and you take the, what you call it, the plug out, you see the energy forces the material out. If you are in a closed environment, the energy has to be released in one direction and absorbed in another. So what you expect and what you want to do. We do that a lot in space technology. We create vortexes, especially in defense technology. The knowledge in that dimension is in a matter state, we call it laser, monoenergetic. In a plasma condition, if you create it, it's a plasma field. This is one of the ways you can project high speed plasma, and it elevates its strength to go up. In the future teaching, we'll teach this one, but it's compression to reach 0 point energy, or to the hydrogen energy, we call it. And usually the field strength of the matter is very much different than the field strength of the plasma. If you create, it's a very in-depth knowledge, and it is part of what you like to call a wormhole. This energy distribution has to be looked at two ways. One is matter state compression, and one is the field state compression. When you interact in the right direction, in the right position, you can play with it in a very beautiful way. And in accelerating plasma to reach a higher order, this technology, what we call vortexing, it's one of the ways, one of the best ways to create elevation in a strength. And in a matter of state, when you can do that, you see the increase in the speed. I've done a lot of work on this compression vortex of the field of the plasma and matter state. And it has a huge applications. Sorry about that, I have to answer this question one second. Anyway, to understand the vortex is zero, there is no zero, is finding the conversion point. At the bottom of every vortex, is a conversion point. And you have to understand what does it convert to. Because if it doesn't do, if the energy doesn't convert to take another dimension or direction or a strength, it'll explode. It becomes like blowing a balloon and compressing it. It needs a lot of knowledge. It needs a lot of understanding. Plasma vortex technology, it's all matter vortex. We know a lot about it because we create it. And if you, even in a matter state vortex, if you understand field distribution, compression of the magnetic field of the elements, it's a totally different game ballgame. And then if you do the same vortex in the different conditions of the plasma fields, it's a different story altogether. Knowledge seekers have not understood the principle of the matter and plasma and the interaction and collaboration and in what you call release of it. One of the biggest vortexes which happens on our life continuously is on our skin. Our skin, that's why you have these holes where the hair grows in. These are where the energies which we absorb from the environment as part of that 80% are fed into. Those are the hole caps. These are where it comes in. This is why we have antennas to what vortexes we absorb as hair. Our hair is a nanomaterial and it has a specific field strength. The color of it, the root of it. Why do we change color of hair by age to white? If man learns to release the right strength field by emotion, man will never change color. And through our skin, if you look at your skin, it's not flat, it's hexagonal, it's like a football, plastic footballs. If you used to play with leather football, they sew them together and there's a point of junction where you come together. Our skin is those junctions, and that's where the hair is. It doesn't matter even if you don't have a hair on your body, the fine, which is inside, creates an attraction. And in that point, at the root of the hair, these vortexes, energy difference transportation is. That's where most of your 80% energy from the environment is directed to. Vortex technology, if you understood to the position of the creation, is a way of feeling, is a way of understanding. That's why you have different hair, different shape, different strength, and different ages of different hair. And some have no hair. It doesn't mean anything else, but the body has this fine tuning of the vortex conversion. If one day our scientists develop technology to watch the fields, you'll see how we're absorbing energy through these holes at the point of the hexagonal or whatever shape that you have on your skin. Those gaps are where it should, like a, you know, you create a slope in a tent to get rid of the water when it rains on it. That holes where the energy comes in. Man has not understood the process of the energy absorption from the environment, and our skin is one of the most fundamental ways that we transfer the energy. We pass the skin, which is supposed to be perfect, no water, but at those points, it's perfect for energy to transfer directly into the center of the body, under the skin. And we call it the root of the hair. It's like you put the antenna up and you say, this is what I want to absorb. And then it just goes right across the body of the man. If you understand this, then you understand why it's so many places, certain places. We have no hair. Even if you follow the condition of the growth of the hair, you find the behavior of the man. Because certain absorption of certain fields creates certain emotions. Because this is where 80% of our energy comes. The science of when you go doesn't go to zero. It goes to point of conversion. How much of it converts and how much it comes back. In a way, if you don't have a hair, you cannot, oh, put this, you're not totally hairless. Doesn't matter what you do with it. You release that antenna, what comes in is like a fountain blowing up.